Welcome everyone to today's session. We are excited you're here. We have a lot of people on the session today. So as typical, we're going to give everyone a minute or two to either grab a coffee, roll out of bed, move from their previous meeting into this one. The numbers are ticking up already, so I'd imagine within about a minute, minute and a half, we will get going. We have tons to cover today, but we are super excited to be here. We are glad you are here as well. So obviously we're talking about these new requirements. In a minute or so before we get going here, we're going to change it up a little bit. Normally we ask where people are dialing in from. We know we have a global audience today. Let's do something a little bit different because I am going to Lithuania next week and I'm looking at the temperatures, and it is much different than the temperatures of where I am, which is Durham, North Carolina. So let's talk about elite season. So I've got a poll for you. I'll make it a little fun for you. We've got 4 seasons. If you had to consider an elite season, which season would you choose? So spring, summer, fall, winter. I will give you mine. So I love the temperature in the spring, and I love the fall temperatures. It's kind of nice, comfortable. However, and I do like wearing hoodies. However, summer, give me the sun, give me the heat. I know where I live, it gets too hot during the summertime, middle of the day to really go outside sometimes, but I will take the sunshine all day long. So let us know, vote on the poll. And before we get going, we will then share the results so everyone can see what the actual elite season is. And I've got a few webinar chats here as well, which is pretty cool for everyone. So sunshine, vitamin D, give it all to me. And let's see what we got. So summer's winning out at 41%. This is beautiful. I know people will say fall is second place. A lot of people, that's the first. So I would say this is probably inaccurate or pretty accurate. And then 5% winter, you snow bunnies. I love you. All right, very good. Hopefully that killed the 2 minutes here. We've got a pretty good crowd here. So we're going to go ahead without delay because we have a lot to get through. Tons of questions. Thank you, everyone, for sending your questions in before. So let's jump in. Of course, Google/Gmail and Yahoo. We are brought some changes here in the industry. These are changes that are big, but they're not to be feared. And it's pretty easy to comply. We make it as easy as possible for you. So normally I'm doing a lot of talking on these. I'm going to do less talking today. And I'm going to introduce, give you a quick background about our speaker, Desi, who's going to be our presenter today. So Desi Shivkova, she's our deliverability manager here at Omnisend, and she's going to walk you through everything, answer your questions as best possible, and hopefully get you feeling comfortable and get you all set for these regulations. A couple of things to know before we do get started as well. So we've got a lot to get through, but we make it easy for you. So the webinar will last approximately 1 hour. We say approximately because we have a lot of questions. We might run long. Now, if you have another meeting or your questions have been answered, but you want to see what the other questions might be, feel free to drop off when you need to drop off. We are recording this. We will send an email with the video recording to everyone who is on or registered today. We'll also post it on our YouTube channel. So if you need to drop off, please drop off. We'll get you the recording so you won't miss anything at all. I know we've asked for a lot of questions. We've received a lot of questions. We do have a Q&A tab, which is different than the chat tab in the platform. So if you have questions, which I'm sure you will during the presentation, please use the Q&A function. We've got a whole staff here at Omnisend who is monitoring that chat session, or I'm sorry, the Q&A boards as well. Hopefully we'll compile these because we have a lot of duplicate questions as well. And hopefully yours that you ask will be answered during the session. And obviously we always ask for feedback. It's a super quick feedback form at the end of the program. So please take the 10, 15 seconds to fill that out. We do look at that and we do try to make these programs better from time to time. Each time we do it. So please fill that out. The agenda today, I'm going to go very high level, and Desi's going to kind of rock through these things. So one, we're going to talk about what are the new requirements, why is it happening, and we're going to talk about who needs to comply with the requirements. Mostly everyone on today will probably, but there are some specific rules and a lot of questions we received about who needs to comply. If you are an Omnisend customer or future Omnisend customer, because we love you, we're going to talk about how this impacts you and how we make it easy for you. And of course, we have some frequently asked questions that we got, so we try to compile those, and that's going to lead us into Q&A, which is where you'll see me again. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to our awesome expert and wonderful all-around person, Desi. Desi, take it away and have fun, everyone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. we'll talk about the new requirements today. I know everyone is probably stressing out and overwhelmed by all the information online, but I'll try to make it easier for you and to explain everything in details. So let's start with the requirements. Um, First of all, I would like to emphasize that these are not at all new. They exist as industry standards for years, and sender who follow them, uh, like centers who follow best practices, already comply with them. What Gmail and Yahoo are doing now is just that they're enforcing these standards for everyone, so all of us can work in a safer email ecosystem. The three main things that senders need to comply with are authentication. You need to authenticate your emails with SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Make it easy to unsubscribe with just one click. This is something we got covered for you, so you don't need to even think about it or worry about it. And the third requirement is to make sure you keep your spam rate low. I'll go through each one of these requirements in more details. But first, let's see why is this happening industry-wide at the moment. One of the main reasons is that there's a huge amount of spam and fraudulent traffic that ESPs or mailbox providers like Gmail and Yahoo have to deal with every single day. Uh, just to illustrate that, I'll tell you that more than 90%, probably even more, of all emails sent to Gmail are rejected at the gateway because they are phishing or simply fraud. And of course, to be able to reduce that amount of unauthenticated fraudulent traffic and focus on more important projects like making the inbox of their recipients safer place, Gmail and Yahoo are enforcing these already existing requirements as industry standards. And honestly, I'm sure there are many more to follow them. Like many more mailbox providers will probably enforce the same in the near future. That's why it's really important for you to prepare now. And something else is that this will also allow you as a sender to take the responsibility uh, of the safety of your brand and your overall email reputation. I would like to say that personally, I'm really positive about those changes because they will actually make the inbox of your recipients really cleaner and safer. So your awesome marketing campaigns will have the chance to stand out in the inbox and bring you the desired revenue. Now, let's see who needs to comply, who will be affected by these changes. Well, basically everyone in the email industry, but bulk senders will be mostly affected. That's because everyone will have to authenticate their traffic with SPF and DKIM, but bulk senders have to think about implementing DMARC, which is also required by Gmail and Yahoo, and will have to stay below the accepted spam rate threshold of 0.3%. Um, Now, the important question is who is actually considered the bulk sender? Well, that was clearly communicated by Gmail and Yahoo in their official documentation. Everyone who sends around 5,000 emails per day to those specific destinations, either to Gmail or to Yahoo, uh, will be considered a bulk sender. However, it's important to note here that this is not a fixed number, meaning that you can send, for example, 4,000 emails to one of these destinations. But if you have other indicators for typical for books and they're like high unsubscribe or high spam rate, for example, Gmail or Yahoo will probably classify you even though you are not reaching the 5K threshold. My advice for you here is don't wait out to reach that volume. Prepare now to become compliant because yeah, it's just good to be prepared. As I told you, more mailbox providers will probably follow these requirements. And it's also good for your deliverability in general. These are the best practices in the industry, and it's good for your brand image in general. It's important also to see how this will affect you as an Omnisend customer. If you're still using our shared domain, unfortunately, you won't be compliant with the requirements. That's why we'll provide you with two options so you can have your emails delivered to the inbox with Gmail and Yahoo. The first one, and that's the one I really highly recommend, is to add your custom domain to your Omnisend account. And you have to then authenticate it with SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records. I know this might sound scary and too technical for some folks, but I promise you it's really simple and I will show you all the steps just in a bit. That honestly will be the best thing you can do for your email program, for your deliverability, and for your reputation. Uh, However, if for some reason you're unable to do that, you're unable to add your custom domain and you're unable to authenticate it, we will provide a second option that will make you compliant. You will continue to use our shared domain for your sendings, but will have to replace your sender email address with one that is matching our shared domain. If you choose that second option, you need to be aware that you might experience some deliverability issues, and that's because you share the reputation of that domain with other customers who, same as you, haven't added an authenticated custom domain. And the other side of that second option, the other downside is that your recipients won't see your own domain in their mailbox in the from field. They will see our shared one. And yeah, some of them might consider your emails to be fraudulent or not legitimate. And this may cause some problems for you, like marking you as a spam or even fish. So the best thing you can do for your brand recognition, for your reputation, I really cannot stress that enough, is please go with the first option, add your custom domain and authenticate it. That's really the best option for you. And let's see, what does it mean to authenticate your email traffic or your email streams? This means that you provide assurance to mailbox providers like Gmail and Yahoo that your messages are authentic and are not sent by someone else, for example, from a bad actor trying to impersonate your brand. And the more confidence a mailbox provider has that your messages are legitimate, the more likely is it that your mail will land in the inbox instead of the spam folder. And after all, isn't this what we all know? More emails in the inbox means that your messages will be read, you generate more sales, and you have more revenue for your brand. And here comes the fun part: authentication and authentication protocols. I really don't want to go into too many technical details on that. There are tons of resources online. We have articles in our help section. You can go. I really advise you to go and check them out, read more on the topic. But I'll just cover some main important things you need to know about each one of these protocols. So the main thing you need to know about SPF is that by adding it, you authorize a list of IPs to send on your behalf. If the recipient server sees that that the IP your message is coming from is in that authorized list, they will consider your email to be legitimate and will accept it. You can imagine this like power of attorney. For example, you authorize us to send on your behalf with our own IPs. DKIM is another authentication protocol that's basically a digital signature. And its main purpose is to make sure that your emails were not changed. Either the body or the headers of your email wasn't changed by bad actors somewhere along the way to the recipient server. And that check will be possible only if you add the DKIM record we provided in your Omnisend account to the DNS zone of your custom domain. And of course, I'll show you how that's done just in a bit. DMARC is the third authentication protocol that is important for you. It works together with SPF and DKIM, and it adds one additional layer of protection for your domain against phishing and spoofing, or in other words, fraudulent impersonation of your brand. The other important thing that DMARC does is to tell the mailbox provider what to do with your email if SPF and DKIM checks and alignment fail. Uh, all of these three authentication protocols needs to be added as TXT records in the DNS zone of your domain. If you don't know where that is, how to access it, just contact your hosting provider. They will help you with all of that. They will tell you where to add the records, how to add them, and will be able to troubleshoot. You're also welcome to contact our support team. We won't have the same visibility over your DNS zone. We'll probably ask for more information like screenshots, but we are still there to support you in that, so don't worry about it. And again, the main purpose of these three authentication protocols is to tell the recipient server that your emails are legitimate and are coming from a trusted source. In your case, that will be Omnisend. And of course, you need to add all three of these to be compliant with the new requirements. So here I provided a few screenshots that will guide you through the process. However, I decided to leave that for you for future reference when you check out the sites, and I will do a live walkthrough in my Omnisend account to show you how I can add a domain in there and authenticate it. So let's see. This probably looks familiar to you. That's the dashboard we have. And something new we introduced recently is our wizard that's created for that topic in particular, and will guide you through all three steps you need to complete to become compliant. You can click here to do the actions, or you can do it from your store settings over here. The screenshots I provided in the slides are done from the store settings, so I'll use the wizard now to show you another way to do it. So we click here. we have a very cool video that explains the entire process from A to Z with all the steps. So if you feel confused somewhere along the way, you can play this and check again the steps. So we click on Add Domain. We are forwarded to the Sender's Domain tab in your store settings. We need to click on Add Sender Domain and copy paste or write the domain you own. In my case, it will be store. We click on continue. And now we are forwarded to the domain authentication page. Now we have the records that we need to copy and paste in the DNS zone of our hosting of our domain. We click on copy, and I'm using GoDaddy for this one. Here's the GoDaddy dashboard. You can go to the DNS management page from here. You click on these dots, you go to domains, and then you choose DNS from the dropdown. Here's the domain I already own. And here's the button I need to click to add new record. We choose TXT type for all three records we need to add. Let's start with SPF. For the name value here, we will use simply the @ sign and we'll paste in the value field the one that we already copied. We don't touch the TTL, we just click on save. And that's it. Our first record is added. We can see it over here. Let's go back to the to our Omnisend account and copy the DKIM value. You can start with the name field actually first, so copy it. There's something you need to be careful about over here. I will show it to you right away. So copy it. When you click on copy, you will copy with the domain. So you have smtp-domainkey.store with the domain included. Then you go again to the DNS dashboard, add new record, choose the TXT type, paste it. And here's the important part. Some hosting providers already add by default the name, the domain in here in the name field. It's not shown for GoDaddy, but they do it on the backend. So I will either leave it like that now and check what will happen when I click on save, or I'll just remove it. I'll leave it for now like that, so you can see the notification message you will receive afterwards. Let's go back to our Omnisend account and check the actual value of the DKIM record. We copy it and paste it over here. Now, when you click on save, GoDaddy will ask you which one you want to keep. You see, here we have the domain duplicated because they already leave it there by default. We don't want that. We don't want to have it duplicated. We want to leave it like that. So always choose the first option. And for other hosting providers, if you see that the domain is already in there, just copy only the first part from your Omnisend account until domain key. That will be enough. Then click on save. And we are done updating the records. And we are left only with DMARC. Same thing with DMARC over here for the domain part. It will be already there for GoDaddy. I will copy it anyway. Add new record. TXT time one more time. Okay, this time I will delete it because I already know it will be there. And I'm going back to copy the actual DMARC that we suggest. It's important to note here that we suggest this value as the basic minimum that is required for you to be compliant. P equals none is a policy that doesn't really protect your brand. You can have more advanced DMARC record, but if you are still new at this and you are not really familiar with what DMARC does, it's better to start like that. And when you feel more confident, you can change the DMARC policy you're using for that domain. For now, this will be absolutely enough for you to be compliant with the new requirements. Also, if you already have existing DMARC record in your DNS zone, please do not add the one we provide as a new one. It's not necessary. The requirement is for your domain to have existing DMARC record, but yeah, you don't need to put the one we provide here as a suggestion if you already have an existing one. You do it only if your domain is not DMARC protected. So we copy it again. And one last time, we go to the DNS dashboard and paste the value in here. We click on save and we are ready. That's it. That was the super complicated and technical part. You don't need to worry about it. As I told you, it's super, super simple. Let's see what will happen now in our Omnisend account. I need to warn you that probably when I click on verify records now, I will still see records because the propagation time may vary for each hosting provider, and it can be up to 48 hours. So me adding the records doesn't mean that they're updated yet. It might take some time. I'll just test it out now. But yeah, look at this. Only the DMARC was successfully added. The SPF and DKIM records will need some more propagation time, but they're there in the in our DNS zone, so it will be fine. Now let's go back to our slides and see what are the other requirements we have. Okay, yeah, we got a lot of questions about this one. That's the one-click unsubscribe. The one-click unsubscribe link is basically a line of code that needs to be added in the headers of your emails. And as ESP, we already did that for you. We have that line of code added to all emails sent from, all marketing emails sent from Omnisend. That one-click unsubscribe option will be displayed in the mailbox of your Gmail and Yahoo recipients. It's important to note here that it won't be displayed for everyone. Google and Yahoo have specific algorithms deciding on which messages they want to display that unsubscribe option next to the from name and from domain in the mailbox of your recipient. But if you don't see it, don't worry about it. You need to know that it is there. We got this covered for you, and you don't need to think or worry about it. Some of the questions we got were about the unsubscribe link that's in the body of your emails, usually the one you put in the footer of your message. That needs to stay there. You don't need to change anything in your email program, in the way you design your emails. The unsubscribe link that you're using so far needs to stay there, and it doesn't need to be one click. It can lead to a confirmation page or to a preference center, just the way you prefer it. But yeah, you don't need to stress about that second requirement. Just do what you always do and you will be fine. And the third, the third requirement, as I mentioned, is to keep your spam rates low. The threshold that was announced by Gmail and Yahoo in their guidelines is 0.3%. However, something super important here is that this is the maximum threshold. And if you constantly go above it or stay around this threshold, you will be in a big trouble. It will be extremely difficult for you to rehabilitate and rebuild your reputation. And the other thing is that Gmail and Yahoo announce that if you are at that 0.3% threshold constantly, you'll be denied mitigation and support. If you reach out to them and ask to be delisted, they probably reject you or won't even answer you. What I recommend and what it's recommended by Google and Yahoo is the 0.1. It's really important, 0.1% spam threshold. You need to try to stay below that and you will be fine. That's the recommended value. 0.3 is the maximum and you don't want to go there. And how to do that, you ask? Well, follow best practices. That always been my advice, like as a deliverability person. It's simple. You need to send emails only to people who subscribe for them, who provided explicit consent, to send relevant content that brings value to your recipients, and to target your most engaged audience. This also means that you have to regularly clean your email list and to remove the inactive addresses. This would be the addresses who haven't opened your emails in the last X months, and I say X because that period may vary depending on your email program and on what's the frequency of your sendings. If you're sending on a daily or a weekly basis, you will choose a shorter period of time, like 3 months, for example. And if you have lower frequency of sendings, you might segment on a longer time period, like 6 months or a year. And something else that will be really useful for you to comply with that requirement in particular is creating a Google Postmaster Tools account. That's a portal they provide, a dashboard, where you will be able to constantly monitor your reputation and to see what's your average spam rate. And you, if you monitor that constantly, you have time to react if you see that you're going above the 0.1% that's recommended, and start to approach the 0.3 maximum allowed threshold. Yahoo also recently announced that they're working on a similar dashboard, so I advise you to check their blog for announcements. This should be launched pretty soon. And finally, on that topic, I would like to tell you that you can be compliant with the technical requirements. Like, you can authenticate your email at all those records, but if you are sending content to an audience that generates high spam rates, everything you did with the technical part, you'll be throwing it out of the window, because you still won't be compliant with the requirements, and your emails might still go to the spam folder or get rejected. So it's really important for you to do both, to authenticate and to keep your spam rates low. And yeah, let's summarize everything we talked about. The new rules will apply to everyone. You will have to authenticate and add custom domain before February 1st. And we're there for you 24/7 to help you if you need us. And yeah, now it's time for some questions. I picked some up from the ones you send us, and we'll cover this in the next slides. That's a good one. I already talked about this, but let's remind one more time that even if you say 4,000 emails per day, you might still be considered a bulk sender because that's not a fixed number. There are other signs or signals that Gmail and Yahoo will watch out for that can tell them you're sending marketing content in bulk. And that will most probably be your spam and unsubscribe rates. Similar one. If I send 5,000 emails per day, but only once per month, will I be considered a bulk sender on the days where I sent only 100 emails per day, for example? The answer is yes. The bulk sender status doesn't have an expiration date. Once Gmail or Yahoo classify you as a bulk sender, you will stay a bulk sender in their eyes. So watch out for what you're sending. Another one we got a lot is for people who manage different stores with different domains. If, for example, you have company.com, company.fr, and company.de, can you use just company.com as a sender address? The answer is no, unfortunately. Your sender email address needs to be aligned with your sender domain, meaning that you have to use 3 different sender addresses and to be careful when you're choosing which domain you are sending from. What will happen if I don't comply? Well, what we assume is that your emails might be rejected or delivered to the recipient spam folders. So yeah, no one wants that. Please be compliant. Another one we got a lot is, what should I do if it has taken more than 72 hours and SPF, DKIM, and DMARC are still unverified? Do I delete and try again? Actually, I would advise you here to not wait 72 hours. Even after 24 or 48 hours max, you still see that your domain is not properly verified and the records appear as missing. You can get in touch with our support team or directly with your hosting provider and make sure that everything is added properly. We are here for you to support you in every step. Uh, is there an easy way for me to check if I done all the steps correctly? Yeah, the wizard I showed you just a few minutes ago. It will walk you through all the steps, and when everything is done properly, the red banner on top of your screen will disappear and you will know that you are now compliant and can send with no issues. Then what will happen with my sending if my spam rate exceeds 0.3%? I don't advise you to go there, but if that happens, according to Gmail, your messages will probably land up in the spam folder, and if that continues for a longer period of time, they might start getting rejected as well. If we have more than one domain on our account, how it's gonna affect us? that's fine. You can have up to 5 different domains per store. You just need to add sender email addresses that correspond to each one of these domains, and make sure when you send your campaigns that they're aligned, and you won't have an issue. You will be compliant. And yeah, again, we are here for you 24/7. We'll send you all the materials from the webinar. And now we'll answer some more of your questions.
Yeah, really good session, Desi. Thank you so much. Hopefully, we've addressed some of
Thank you,
those
guys.
main ones. I know that the FAQs where we were getting repetitive questions about those. Something you said, Desi, before we get to some additional questions here from the audience from today, uh, about spam rates and things like that, right? So I just want to let people know that, like, if you verify these three things, this is not a golden ticket to always land at the inbox. So going back 10, 15 years, and this is back when I was consulting clients too, right? Just by sending the email from a branded domain did not guarantee you inbox placement there. And Google has always looked at things like open rates, engagement rates. So you think about clicks and things like that in your emails. And they also use those things to determine spam folder placement. So if you're getting open rates of 4%, chances are you're going to see that drop to 1%. That figure used to be around 8% and would go from 8 to 1. And that was your indication you were getting bulk mailed. You get no one clicking on your emails. Google absolutely looks at those things and uses those as factors for bulk mail placement. So just please be aware that this is not a this is Desi's point of saying you still need to clean your list, not only for unsubscribe rate, but for engagement rate as well. So send those relevant emails and things like this. So I just want to make it clear that this is not a golden ticket to inbox placement. You still need to follow those best practices as she recommended as well. So throwing it out there for you. I see Desi nodding your head, which means maybe I am somewhat smart today as well here. So keep your questions coming through the Q&A. A couple real quick ones for anyone who joined late that we're seeing repetitive in there. Yes, we will send a recording of this to everyone after the fact. We'll also post it on YouTube. So if you need to jump off because you have another meeting or you were late to the program and missed Desi's awesome screen share of how to authenticate some of those things, you will get it recorded. So don't worry about it. Keep the questions coming. We'll try to follow up with you afterward. All right. So Desi, you ready for some questions here?
Absolutely.
All right.
Let's
So,
go.
all right. First one, this is kind of, thank you for asking the question, by the way, whoever this came from, but this is kind of a shill for what I just talked about. So bear with me. Can Omnisend provide a guide in PDF format that can be forwarded to our IT support company so that they can apply the necessary changes? I do not know. Desi, do you happen to know this? I know you were working with the rest of the team on doing something like this. So
Yeah, so everyone who subscribed for that webinar will receive a follow-up email with a recording, with the questions we couldn't answer during the session, and with a one-pager containing the most important information you need to become compliant. So you can forward that to your IT department or whoever is responsible for that technical part on your end. And I promise you the information we'll provide in that email will be enough for them to help you with your setup.
excellent. So I threw you under the bus because if you didn't have something ready, you would have almost had to have it ready. So I like creating more work for people. It's awesome. All right, next one. This one goes back to probably my guess is they probably joined a little bit late, but just for anyone else who might be in the same boat, we have a lot of people on today. I'm going to read it anyways. I don't even know where to begin with my account when I was asked to verify my domain. Where do I start?
Okay, that's an easy one. I already showed you how our wizard looks. You will see a red banner on top of your screen. You will have to follow the steps we listed in there. And when you see it gone, well, you know you'll be ready.
Very good. Our next one rolls in. Sometimes this is someone who is talking to other people in their collective peer group. So sometimes common issues with verifying records. I've tried multiple times, wait 48 hours for updates, no luck. What do I do?
Okay, so if you waited out the propagation time, most probably there's something wrong with your records. You either added them wrong or you duplicated some of them. That's when you need to contact your hosting provider or our support team, and we'll check what's wrong and we'll guide you through the steps you need to take to fix that problem. There are some common mistakes we see with multiple SPF records, for example. If you were using different sending infrastructure so far, and you already have SPF record that covers their IPs, you don't need to create new one for Omnisend. You just need to include the part that covers our IPs in your already existing SPF record, meaning that you need to edit the existing one rather than create a new record. And same goes for DMARC. As I mentioned earlier, if you already have existing DMARC record that's working for you, please don't add new one. That's not necessary. And one for DKIM, something I've seen happen a few times for our customers. Sometimes mistakes happen and you do not copy the entire value we provide. It's quite long one, so yeah, I see that happening for some of you. So make sure you copy pasted the exact same values and you will be fine.
Yeah, I'm a terrible copy paster as well. So
Happened to me as
I
well,
fall into that
yeah.
category. Uh,
Absolutely.
this next question comes in and it looks like a plant of a question that I would write. So I'm going to ask it just because I love the fact that it looks like something I would write in here. And it kind of piggybacks a little bit. So thank you for this off of what I just said about a golden ticket. Desi, you've been talking a lot today, so I can certainly chime in here. I don't think I ever introduced myself on today's webinar as well, which is my bad. So I am Greg Zackwitz. I'm an e-commerce expert here at Omnisend. So I've been in email marketing for almost 20 years, which is crazy, but running programs, consulting on programs, things like this. This one is simple. How do we improve our email marketing in 24? So I know your answer, Desi, before is follow best practices, and I would absolutely agree with those. I'm going to jump in here, give you a little bit of a breather. So, as I mentioned before, Google, so Gmail, Yahoo, all the major ESPs or I can't speak today. It's early for me still. So they all look at engagement rates. So clicks, opens, things like that. And that is part of, domain-based reputation. All these things factor into good deliverability. Obviously, when increase your open rates, increase your click rates, you need to have more effective email. So here's what I would say. Right, very simple things, and then you can build up there. Segment your audience when you can. We provide pre-built segments for engaged audiences and past purchasers and things like that in Omnisend. So you don't need to be a wizard at creating segments as easy as they are. We have some of those pre-built ones, and you want to try to segment when you can. And I know it's not realistic all the time because you need different creatives and things like this, and people are pressed for time. But when you can, right? Give some people a little bit of a break, send to your engaged people. You want to get those ratios work in your favor a little bit. So part of it is kind of playing the game, but it's also not batching and blasting everyone all the time. Use automations, right? Automations have significantly higher open rates, significantly higher click rates, convert a lot more too. So our stats report at Omnisend, it's coming out either today, tomorrow, the next day, some point this week. We looked at all the emails last year. Automated emails generated 41% of all email orders last year on 2% of the sends. So if you think about the engagement rate with those emails to the volume of sends, you're going to start factoring in those positive trends your side as well. And then just be smart about it. Let's talk to our customers without bashing and blasting. Of course, clean your list. Sometimes email is no longer their jam and they want to go to SMS, or they've changed email addresses, but they didn't take the time to consider you and unsubscribe from those things. So clean your list for engagement, clean your list for people who signed up to get a discount one time 2 years ago and haven't clicked again, right? If you make that part of your ongoing process, you'll always be below that 0.3%, closer to 0.1. You get those other factors working. So automation, segmentation, when you can, be smart about it, clean those lists, follow best practices, you'll be good there. So Desi, you caught a little bit of a breather here, so I appreciate you. Hopefully that answers your
Absolutely
question.
agree with everything you said. Awesome information. So thank you for covering that for me.
All right, our next question kind of piggybacked off that one, so I'm going to skip that one if that's okay. All right, so our next one, does MailChimp and email platforms like it already built to handle the changes, or is there, I'm terrible at reading today. Does MailChimp and email platforms like it already have already built in to handle the changes, or is there something we need to do to adjust on our end?
So if I understand correctly, the person is asking about MailChimp in particular. I'm
I
not sure how they're exactly dealing with this, but I will talk about ESPs in general. And yeah, as an ESP, we got some of the requirements covered for you, as you know already, the list on subscribe header, for example. But the whole idea of Gmail and Yahoo introducing these requirements uh, is for the sender to take responsibility over their domain reputation and for their security. So the main work will be for you guys. Like, you as senders need to authenticate, and you as senders need to make sure you are sending relevant content that your audience wants to read and interact with. So we cannot do that for you.
Very good.
Hope
All
that
right.
that was answering the question.
Yeah, I think there might have been a words left out of there in haste to type. So I think we got it there. So, all right. Help this one, and we kind of walked through. So if you joined late, we kind of went through this. Can you help us setting up with GoDaddy, and how do you know if it's set up correctly? So maybe the second part of that, we did the walkthrough, or Desi did the walkthrough before showing the GoDaddy hosting account. So let's just recap the second part of that super quick. So how do you know if it's set up correctly?
Yeah, again, you will see the messages in green that will confirm SPF, DKIM, and DMARC are found and set up properly. Basically, everything your account will be green and pretty, and you will know you are compliant and ready to send. But yeah, if you missed the part with the walkthrough, you can refer to the recording later and see how I do it specifically in GoDaddy.
Very good. Okay, I have a website. Is that the domain I linked to?
Uh, yeah, that will be the best option for you. If you already have a website, this means you already purchased your own domain and you can use it as a sender domain. If you don't want to use the exact same one, you can use a subdomain or completely different one, which is not a very good practice. It's best to use one that's actually related to your brand. And other advice I can give here is, if you are purchasing a brand new domain that doesn't have email reputation yet, this means it haven't been used for email sendings before, you will have to undergo a warm-up one. And this is something we are currently working on to provide the solution for you to warm up your domain, and we will launch that new feature very soon, so stay tuned for that.
Very good. I know we've had a few questions in the chat and Q&A on this one today as well. So how do I track spam rating?
Oh, that's a good one. So, some of you may know that Gmail in particular doesn't have the standard FBL program. They do not send individual FBL reports or spam reports. They give you an aggregated one, means they will display you in the GPT dashboard only the average percentage of your spam complaints rate. You won't have the every single recipient address that clicked on spam and marked your email as a spam, and how you will be able to clean your list from these addresses. Then the best thing you can do is segment your list, as Greg mentioned earlier, and target your engaged audience. If your recipient opens and clicks on your emails regularly, this means they want to receive your communication, then definitely didn't mark you as spam. So GPT is one of the places where you will check your average spam threshold. That will be for your Gmail recipients. And in your Omnisend account, in the stats page for your campaigns, you will see the spam rate for every other provider, so you will know when you need to act upon this.
And GPT, for those out there, is Google Postmaster Tools, not Chat
Sorry, yeah.
GPT. They do not know. So don't rely on Chat
Absolutely.
GPT. So Google
Yeah, I'm
Postmaster
totally
Tools. If you're
exactly.
unfamiliar with what that is, you can ironically just Google Postmaster Tools and you get the information there. Okay, we've had a
Yes.
couple. I know you walked through. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no. That
Okay.
I just agree with what you said.
All right, we are hitting the top of the hour, so I'll throw the caveat. We'll take some more questions. We'll go over time a little bit. Just as a friendly reminder, we are recording the session. If you need to jump off to get to another meeting, take your kids to school, whatever you're doing, please feel free to do that. We'll get you the recording so you're not going to miss anything. If you do leave 15 seconds early so you can fill out the feedback form now. Okay, so I know you've talked about this, Desi, with the unsubscribe link up in the top of the email there. We've got a few questions on this, so maybe we can just go over that again. The questions have revolved around, I sent an email and I didn't see the link up there, or how do we force the link to be up there? And I know you talked about kind of that it might not be there all the time. So do not remove the link from the footer or wherever you normally have it in your email because you want to have it there. But can you go over the unsubscribe at the top again, just for anyone who may have missed it as they were
Yeah.
chatting questions or jumped in late?
Yeah, so that unsubscribe link you see in the mailbox will not be displayed by Gmail and Yahoo for every single message. And we cannot actually tell you with certainty when they will display it or not, because that will depend on multiple factors only Gmail and Yahoo know about. Yeah, their algorithms can be a bit mysterious for us. The fact that the unsub link is missing in there means nothing for you. We still have it encoded in the headers of your emails. It's there for every single message. If you don't see it, do not think you're not compliant. You are if your message went out from Omnisend. It's just that Google or Yahoo decided not to display it for this specific recipient, but it might appear for someone else. That's the main idea. And yeah,
Excellent.
the unsubscribe link in the footer that you normally use should stay there. Please don't remove it.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, especially if you're sending to a non-Google or Gmail person, right? You're probably using the same email and sending off to a mass audience, even if it's a segmented mass audience. So yeah, keep it there. Two is always better than one. And if people want to get off your list, let them get off the list, right? You can use SMS to market to them.
Yes.
Okay, this one might be something that I do not know the answer to. It might be something you don't know the answer to, Desi, because Google is not always forthcoming with how they calculate everything, right? Usually it's an observation thing, you figure it out. But it revolves around that 0.3% spam rate, right? And that threshold there. So Desi, do we know over what period Google looks at that? A lot of times they do like open rates. It used to be within like a 30-day period. They would kind of aggregate and average those things out. Do we actually know how they calculate that 0.3%? So if you say you're always at 0.1% and then you have one send and that goes to 0.5, does that one send, is that catastrophic for you, or will that balance off a little bit? So if there's any light you can shed, I don't want to throw you on the bus if you can't, but if there's any light you can shed on that, please feel free to do so.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good question, definitely. From what we know from the information Google shared so far on this topic, you won't be in a big trouble if you reach that 0.3% on a specific day or two. And if your overall score on every other day is below the recommended threshold of 0.1%. Basically, they will look at the daily rates, most probably. Like, I'm doing assumptions here, but that's what we monitored so far. If every single day you are around 0.1, let's say, but for a specific campaign something happened, you did a mistake with your list, or something just went wrong and you reach 0.3, that won't be the end of the world. You won't be classified as an offender right away. They mentioned that you need to constantly be at the 0.3% threshold to actually be in a big trouble. The Yeah, so one or two big sendings with higher spam rates won't be the end of the world, but still, please stay below 0.1 if you can.
Very good. I would agree with that. Of course. So we have another one here, and this goes back to something you mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation, but I think it's good to kind of circle back again for anyone who's late or they kind of fit in that middle ground here. So let's take a brand. This one is, I have less than 2,000 contacts. So really, I'm going to combine a couple different questions into one question. First question is, I have 2,000 contacts. Do I need to do the warm-up process? The second part is maybe you want to rehash and just remind everyone, for anyone that maybe has 2,000, 3,000 contacts, are they considered bulk senders, right? And do they need to, comply with these things? So can you kind of go through the bulk sending, and for people that may be under that threshold, what they should be doing and how they should proceed?
Okay, so a few things to mention here. First, the threshold. I already mentioned that, but as a refresher, the 5K per day threshold is specifically for Gmail or Yahoo, meaning that you have to have 5,000 emails sent in one day to Gmail only or to Yahoo only to reach that bulk sender threshold. But again, as a reminder, that's not a fixed number. You might be sending like four, even three, I don't know, we'll soon find out, but 3 or 4K, let's say, per day, but you generate other signals to Gmail and Yahoo that your emails are bulk, like high unsub and spam rate, or even the fact that you send a huge number of emails at once, like in a one batch, because yeah, you may have 5K transactional emails per day. They won't be sent at the same time for sure. So another indication for you to be a bulk sender is that you're sending this simultaneously to multiple recipients. And you mentioned 2,000 emails, I think, in the question. I don't know if
Yep.
that's to a specific destination only, or 2K in total, but
It,
if
it
that's
sounds like total.
Total, yeah, okay. So that's not a really huge volume, I would say. If you've already been using your domain for email sendings, no warm up will be needed, in my opinion, for the domain. If it's a brand new one, well, yeah, you probably do not want to blast a campaign to every single recipient in this list. Maybe you will start with 100 and 500 and ramp up slowly. But that's only if you are introducing a brand new domain that you purchased like yesterday and never used for emailing. Hope this answers the question.
Very good. I would say, would you recommend that if, say, your list is only 2,000 and you're not sending the 5,000 a day, obviously, because you don't have 5,000, would you still recommend they go through and authenticate these things that everyone else is doing? I would say, yeah, I would say yes, but what do you say? I'm not a deliverability expert.
Absolutely, for everyone, no matter how many emails you're sending. I actually started with that presentation. These are not new requirements, these are best practices. They are there for you to make you more successful and to have the best deliverability you could achieve. So no matter how many emails you are sending per day, do it if you can. It's not scary. I showed you. It's pretty simple. That will be the best thing you can do for your brand. And the email as an industry is going towards that direction: authentication and safety, and more ESPs will mailbox providers will adopt these requirements, will enforce them. So Gmail and Yahoo won't be the only ones, for sure.
Yeah, and just to put it out there as well, every day, I know no one's, hopefully no one's looking at my inbox here, but every day I get in my primary tab where I sign up for a bunch of promotional emails. I get one that says, "Oh, my order transaction, I got a PDF attached to it," and you hover over, and it's coming from a Gmail address, right? So obviously it's not, but this is exactly what Google, Yahoo, and I agree with you, the entire industry is trying to get rid of things like that. And obviously, phishing emails are not new. So yeah, if Google wants it for the big guys, they probably want it for the small guys too, and hope you follow suit. All right,
Yes.
I'm gonna jump in on this next one a little bit to give you a little bit of a break here, Desi, again, because this is in response to something I said before with open rates, click rates, and it's kind of an ambiguous question, but it's still a question that probably a million people have: is what is a good open rate and what is a good click rate? And it is somewhat ambiguous. I'll give you my opinion and what I think you should strive to get. And always, we have benchmarks in our stats reports and on the website and things like that. You could benchmark against your industry, but I always say benchmark against yourself, because, if the industry has a 20% open rate and you've got a 14% open rate, like, hey, what's going on here? But, the goal is to move from 14 to 15. Once you get to 15, you get to 16, you keep benchmarking against yourself. And that's how you're getting better. So when I was advising clients, and even now when I'm writing things and I kind of go off gut feel and I look at someone's open rate, I'm like, oh, that's good, or that's not good, or that's right on where it should be. I always go, if you can get an open rate between 15 to 20, you're probably doing okay. 18 to 20 would be on a much better scale. I think 18%, you're probably doing well. But I've seen brands with consistent 35, 40% open rates because they've got a really engaged audience. They send their messages very selectively, so they're providing more relevant information. But I think typically above 15%, you're good. I'd be concerned if you were below 15%. And that's the point where I would go, oh, we need to get this up, and try to hover on that 20% plus, because people are not open sometimes. We've seen open rates across the board, 23 billion emails sent last year. We saw open rates increase last year, I think 1.5%. And I think, I don't know the number offhand, but I think it's around 24% across the board. So try to get that 20 plus percent. Click rates, you probably want to be around there as well. I think 12 to 15% click rate on average. So that's going to be click based on volume of emails sent, not open. So, emails open. So if you can get that click rate above there, I think, so click to open rate, I think 12 to 15%, you're doing pretty well. So look at that. Again, click rate's going to tell you engagement. Are your emails relevant or are they not relevant? And if it's really low, that's a sign you're sending irrelevant emails. And Google, Yahoo, they look at that and go, that's a sign they're sending irrelevant emails. So that's what I would go. But again, benchmark against yourself. And even if you have a 30% open rate, try to get the 31. That's the golden ticket right there, right? So hopefully that helps. I know it's somewhat ambiguous, but I think you have a pretty good sense of your audience, the products you sell, what you're trying to do from your emails, whether it's a good open or click rate here for you. But kind of use 20% as your benchmark. If you can get 20% across the board, you're in good shape. The other one, I'll leave this super short because I can talk for an hour on this one. I mentioned automating emails before, and they perform so much better than the other ones. And the question is, well, why? I'll give you a short answer because they're relevant, right? They're all behavior based. If I sign up for an email program, triggers a message to me for signing up. If I am on your website and I leave without carting a product, I was exploring your website, you send me a browse or product abandonment message. It's relevant. It's a way to retarget. If I abandon a shopping cart, I've selected a product, I'm close to purchasing, I leave, you give me a cart abandonment message, automated, behavior-based, but all these things are relevant to my shopping experience. And that's why they perform so much better, because they're keeping that person engaged, but they're going to that one person at a point where they're very high intent shoppers, right? You send me a post-purchase message. I just made a purchase with you. I love your brand right now. And you're keeping that engagement going. And that's why they perform better. And that's why you can really facilitate your email program using automated messages. Show for the company here, I'll give you the plug. We have templatized workflows. So I can create a cart abandonment workflow and put content in a message in 5 minutes in Omnisend because we templatize all that stuff for you. You just kind of fill in those small details and still customize them. So that's why automated messages perform better. Quentin, so thank you for the message there. I could talk to you an hour on this stuff though, so feel free to hit me up later and we'll move from there. Anything you'd like to add, Desi, while I kind of scroll through some more questions
Oh,
here?
you covered it pretty well, I would say.
Well,
Great
that doesn't help
insights.
me. All right, so we're getting a little more strategy here, but now, so Steve got a question based on what I just said. So now we're going strategy. I'll answer this super quick, Steve. Our open rate's very good. So this is going to the crowd. It's around 30%. So everyone find Steve in the group of attendees. Steve is getting a 30% open rate. Very good, Steve. Congratulations. Booster email is not as good. Should we send the booster? So real question, booster email is never going to be as good as your first one because you're sending it typically to non-openers, right? That's kind of the name of the game. Doesn't mean you shouldn't send it because they can generate a lot of profit. Benchmark against yourself. What's the value of the emails you're sending versus the revenue you're bringing in from those emails? Or even not a revenue, but think about how these things layer upon each other. I get the booster, I open it, I click on it, but I don't purchase from it. But if you have the automation like browse abandonment or cart abandonment set up, right? And I get to the website, I leave, the automation then fills in from at that point, converts me from there, might not reflect over to the booster email, but it reflects on the browse abandonment email. So Steve, benchmark against yourself. Look, are the messages providing value? And the simple thing there to do is if you're finding some value in there, but you're not sure to do it all the time, just dial 1 or 2 back. And maybe they just need that little bit of break. But remember, you are targeting people that didn't open the first one. Don't expect, generally we would go 50 to 40% of the initial open rate should be around the booster thing. Typically, not always the case, but that's generally where. The other thing with those boosters, watch your spam rates. So this goes back to the spam threshold, right? If you're getting high spam rates with the booster emails, it's a good sign to lay off the boosters a little bit. If you're getting consistent or lower spam rates, you're okay to keep playing around with them, but just think about how often you're using them. Simple solution, create a segment of people who clicked on the message but didn't convert, send them the booster because you know they're engaged, but they haven't converted. You lower your sends, you're probably going to get a higher open rate there too, which works in your favor, but then you're targeting people who are actually a little more engaged with you. Okay, we've digressed away from that and away from deliverability and strategy, which I love, but not as good for you, Desi. So, okay, we've got this February 1st deadline here, right? So talk to us about February 1st. Does everything need to warm-ups, everything, does it need to be done February 1st, or is that more of a soft deadline by Google and Yahoo? We got a lot of questions on that one. So can you talk to us about the deadline?
Okay, yeah, that's a hot topic, indeed. Don't worry, 1st of February is not the end of the world. Nothing too crazy will happen. Recently, both Gmail and Yahoo announced that they will roll out these changes in stages, more slowly. First, the first few weeks, they will probably only defer a small percentage of the traffic that is not compliant. And then over time, this percentage will go up until finally it covers 100% of this not compliant traffic. So you will have time to react. The first few weeks will be crucial for you to understand if you cover everything. If you see high percentage of bounces, reach out to us. We'll look into this and we'll see where the problem is. We'll help you get everything done and be fully compliant. So no worries, work's not ending, everything's good. You'll have time to prepare.
Excellent. This one is okay. We got time for probably one more just based on our schedules. Just a reminder to everyone, if your question is in queue, we have not answered it yet. Desi, you mentioned you guys will be setting up something with the answers post-event. Give us time to aggregate those, provide some proper answers, things. But we will try to answer your question offline for you. We'll try to share that amongst the group so everyone can see the questions, have the answers available to them as well. If you did join late, just a friendly reminder, go back and watch the recording, which we will send to you as well. From the beginning, we might have those questions answered in there, including the screen share walkthrough about how to actually authenticate there. So let's get to one more question and then we'll wrap it. So let's see. Bear with me, Desi, if you want to tell a joke or something while I'm scrolling through, feel free to.
Not
This is the
very
fun.
good at
This is the
this.
fun of live events, right? Okay, so I've seen this one before as well. I think you spoke to it earlier, but to a little bit of degree, but questions that come in a variety of different formats kind of around the same thing. You're saying that the sender email and domain have to match. What is the difference between sender email and domain? And how do I know that they match? So maybe it's just simplified terms about what those two mean and how they combine with one thing.
Yeah. Okay, so the sender domain, you are asked to add and validate in your account, will actually be used by us to sign your emails. And this means that the return path domain and the DKIM domain of your emails will be that specific sender domain that you added. And the sender email address domain is what we call in the industry header from domain or friendly from. It's displayed at the top of the recipient email box screen, the ones that the recipients will see when they open the email. And to be compliant with the requirements, you have to have a match or as we call it, alignment between those two. Uh, I didn't go into too many details about that in the slides. It's a bit more technical topic, but if you want to dig more and learn more, I advise you to check what is return path domain, what's DKIM domain, and what's header from domain, and you get it pretty well.
All right. I set you up for a big one, doozy at the end there. So apologies for
No,
that one,
that's
but
all right. I just don't want to confuse people even more. So, yeah, we can do a separate one for that.
very good. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, first of all, for you, Desi, and sharing all your unbelievable knowledge in a pretty concise and easy to understand format. Reminder, everyone out there, I know I've repeated myself 50 times, but I'm going to do it again. We'll send the recording afterward. We'll compile whatever leftover questions are in the Q&A chat there. If you have a question in the webinar chat, but not the Q&A, that has not been answered, please copy that or repost it in the Q&A in the next probably 45 seconds so we can aggregate that here. Hopefully everyone got the information. So we'll send the recording out to everyone. Just give us a day or so process that. We'll gather whatever leftover questions and FAQs, put those in a document, also send those out to you. So please be patient. If you're an Omnisend customer or saw how easy it is to do this stuff in Omnisend and want to join us, feel free to pop on over, check us out, contact our live support where you need help. And we are always here to help you as well. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Desi, for your time and knowledge.
Thank you.
And until next time, everyone, we will see you. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.